All right, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're going to demystify exactly how you can safely transition your money from simple, basic savings into real wealth-building investments without risking your financial security. If you're someone who has cash just sitting in a bank account, doing the right thing but still feeling like you're somehow missing out on the bigger picture, well, you are exactly where you need to be. We are going to build a completely structured, foolproof bridge from where you are right now to exactly where you want to be. So, picture this. You're doing everything right. You're budgeting, you're super disciplined, and you actually managed to save up $10,000. You're feeling incredibly financially mature, moving $100 here, $200 there into your savings account. But then a whole year later, you open your banking app and realize that your standard 0.5% interest rate has earned you a measly $50. $50 for an entire year of hard-fought discipline, it is just incredibly anticlimactic, right?
And the whole time, you log online or talk to your friends, and you just keep hearing everyone rave about stocks and index funds and this magical thing called compound growth. Naturally, this leads to a pretty terrifying internal monologue where you're staring at your screen, questioning your entire financial strategy, thinking, wait a minute, am I doing this wrong? You start to realize that while saving money is fundamentally a good thing, saving alone is rarely going to build you real wealth. Well, don't feel overwhelmed because we have a very clear roadmap today. We're going to cover 1. The problem with saving alone. 2. The actual savings versus investing math. 3. Overcoming that psychological barrier. 4. The exact step-by-step path to take. And 5. The incredible power of consistency. Okay, starting right off with Section 1, the problem with saving alone. Let's establish a fundamental, maybe slightly controversial, financial truth here. Look, the core issue is that people often confuse the actual job of their money. Let's be clear. Savings protect your money. Investments grow your money. Saving is an absolutely crucial first stage to protect your cash, but it's not meant to be the final goal because growing wealth is just a completely different job. Think of it like this. You wouldn't use a shield to chop down a tree, right? In the exact same way, you cannot use a basic savings account to build long-term generational wealth. Which brings us nicely to Section 2, savings versus investing math. Let's actually look at the numbers and the mathematical reality of what happens over time.
Let's take that 10 grand. If you leave it sitting in a savings account for 20 years at a typical 1% return, it barely moves. It crawls up to maybe $12,200. But if you invest that exact same $10,000 in the stock market, say the S&P 500 at a historical 10% average, boom, it skyrockets to roughly $67,000. It's the exact same starting money, but a completely different outcome. The biggest wealth gap in society isn't usually between people who save and people who spend. It's between people who save and people who invest.
So moving on to Section 3, overcoming the psychological barrier. Because if the math is really that obvious, why doesn't everyone do it?
Well, the reason people hesitate isn't a math problem at all. It's a psychology problem. Saving just feels completely safe. The balance never drops on a random Tuesday afternoon. You look at your app and the number is always the same or maybe slightly higher. It's super comfortable. But the inherent emotional volatility of investing, the fact that the market moves up and down, literally scares beginners away. It feels risky. You think to yourself, I don't want to lose my hard-earned savings. And honestly, that is a completely fair, perfectly natural human reaction.
All right, let's jump to Section 4, the step-by-step path. How do we bypass that fear without panicking? We have to follow a proven staged methodology. Here is your exact 5-step playbook to confidently make this transition. Step 1 is the absolute foundation, building a real emergency fund. Before you invest a single dollar, you need 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved in cash. The number one reason people panic sell their investments is a sudden emergency, like a car breaking down or losing a job. A solid cash fund stops that panic cycle dead in its tracks, allowing you to move safely to the next steps. Now, as you build up that cash emergency fund, step 2 is actually a mental trick. You need to divide your finances into 2 specific buckets. Bucket 1 is your safety money. It stays in savings, it does not move, it is your fortress. Bucket 2 is your growth money. This bucket is allowed to fluctuate. When you mentally assign these jobs to your money, it dramatically reduces your anxiety because you know your day-to-day survival isn't tied to what the stock market is doing today.
For steps 3 and 4, you just start small, like $50 or $100 just to build the habit. The goal here isn't to make massive profits on day 1, it's about building the muscle memory of investing. You do this by skipping all that risky day trading or crypto speculation and instead focusing on highly diversified, beginner-friendly tools like index funds. An index fund basically lets you buy into hundreds of companies all at once. It's broad, it drastically lowers your risk, and it provides steady, long-term growth. It's beautifully simple, and it works.
And hey, you really don't need some crazy complex strategy to win the financial game. In fact, legendary investor Warren Buffett champions this exact approach for most people. He's repeatedly stated that low-cost index funds make the absolute most sense for everyday investors. More often than not, the simplest investments routinely outperform the highly complicated, stressful ones.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 5, the power of consistency. Let's see how this all builds into real wealth over time.
Now this is where the magic really happens, the shock of compounding. By investing just $300 a month at an 8% average return, you end up with roughly $285,000 after 25 years. But here is the crazy part. You only contributed $90,000 out of your own pocket. The market growth, that compounding effect, hands you a staggering $195,000. Your money literally did the heavy lifting for you while you slept. To put it simply, think of saving your money like storing seeds in a glass jar. You're definitely protecting them, sure, but absolutely nothing is going to grow inside that jar. Investing, on the other hand, is taking those seeds and planting them in the soil. It looks messy at first, you don't see results immediately, and yeah, there are going to be storms to weather. But eventually, it yields a massive harvest that is far bigger and far more powerful than the handful of seeds you started with.
Now, you might be thinking, but what if the market crashes? Look, crashes are completely normal. They've happened dozens of times in history. But when they do inevitably happen, you can stay cool, calm, and collected. You can actually benefit by buying more shares on sale with your consistent monthly contributions because you are now thinking in decades, not days. Ultimately, that discipline is exactly what separates real investors from gamblers. Because at the end of the day, saving gives you stability, but investing, that gives you total freedom. And the earlier you combine both of these forces, the more unstoppable your financial future becomes. So I want to leave you with one pivotal question to think about. Are you currently just in the saving stage, or have you already taken the leap and started investing? Take a look at your strategy, set up your buckets, and take that first real step towards your financial freedom today.